Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Comix Rant MINI. This is my first one. My name is Arvin Bautista, by the way. It is early morning, and I am going to try to see how this works out. I have not been very good at producing any more episodes of my show. A lot of things are happening. Life is happening. Work is happening. Personal work is happening. Just everything is happening. So I'm going to try to do like shorter episodes, that just talk about comics. That is why I started this channel, during the pandemic. So why not? I'll take a few minutes and then talk about, comics from my collection. So I grew up in the Philippines. It was hard for me to get, American comics because they were expensive. They would have to be imported and they would mark it up, I'm trying to remember the price of it, in pesos, but it was pricey. I didn't have an allowance to buy something like that. But this company, this bookstore, one of the bigger chains in the Philippines, National Bookstore, I think it's still around. Not as prestigious as, say, Power Books or all these other, bookstores in the Philippines. But still there, selling school supplies and textbooks and I think they have a tiny section for comic books. Not very good. It was not good before, and now it's even worse, I think. Because who wants comics? Nobody reads this stuff, right? In any case, so they would take issues, American comics and reprint them. They'd get the rights and they reprint them in the Philippines, and they'd be like they'd use this cheaper paper. And they'd have their own ads. See, my comic is dead. Yeah. Gasp and shock. But I brought back some of my old comics from the Philippines to the US, where I currently am, and, I just kind of wanted to keep them. I have a pretty big collection in the Philippines. Most of them got pillaged by my cousin, and I think some of my other friends, family friends, when my mom was just trying to clean it out. I don't really mind. Most of it is pretty destroyed from the Philippine humidity. But the cool part is these books were kind of like these cheapy books, right? Like nobody wants these. Like, or at least when they were pillaging my comic book collection, nobody wants these. They're cheaply made and they don't stand up and they're not the real thing, right? They're reprints. How could you sell this or whatever? Turns out, now that I'm older, I love these books. I only have a handful of these guys because I was also snooty and thought I just wanted imported American comics that were real, with real American kids in their ads and, building, model kits that I could never get my hands on. In any case, I love these. I love finding these again in my collection and have been enjoying them. Because they were the ones that I bought with my own money. I found, and they were kind of like this weird eclectic bunch of titles. Like this is Plop number 16. I don't have any of the other issues of this. I'm not even sure they had a lot of these, at National Bookstore. My working theory is that National Bookstore how they curated which books to reprint. They would pick out books that were associated to Filipino artists that had emigrated to the US to find work as comic book artists there. It is my deep regret that as a kid I had missed that generation of amazing Filipino comic book artists, and I never really got a chance to buy a lot of their stuff, except when it came back in reprint form. That said, I don't think there's any Filipino artists in this issue of Plop, by the way. Anyway, this is one of my, favorite issues. I think even as a kid, I remember thinking, how bizarre. Look at this. What the heck is going on there? It's like the Spider-Man kiss. But back then it was just weird. And it's these weird people with a lot of zits. And I guess this may have been the first time I saw anything by Wally Wood. And this is the Sergio Aragones doodles on the side of this book, kind of like Mad Magazine style, I think. And they have the House of Secrets, or the horror line of characters that DC did. I think it's Cain and Abel, and I forget the witch's name. It's probably in here somewhere. Let's take a look. But they were like, I think they were in 3 separate books: House of Secrets, House of Mystery, and then Witching Hour, I think, the Witching Hour. But it's kind of cool that they had these same characters host Plop. So, you know, I never really did any research on what this magazine was supposed to be, but, it's kind of like this horror-y, comedy, weird book. And I guess it makes sense that they would be the host. They were the most popular around that time. There's even, I don't know what's going on with the stamp over here. See that? That decreased the value of my book. I don't really care. Oh, let's see. Interworld Mercantile. Exclusive property? 75. Can't be that old. I wasn't born until 76. Okay. Anyway. So the intro, there's like an intro short story here by Sergio Aragones. I'm not sure who writes it. There's no, or at least this first part. But anyway, it was kind of cool. I liked it because they would kind of narrate the story, and then it would go into these short stories. And this one is written by Steve Skeets and drawn by Rick Estrada. And I had to look it up because when working on my theory of like, these are all Filipino artists, I was like, Rick Estrada is a very Filipino name, but he is not Filipino. He's American-Cuban. In any case, I kind of liked his style, even as a kid. You know, he had a thicker line than what I'm used to, right? I'm a modern, 80s, 90s kid where everybody would just kind of detail, stuff. So I liked being exposed to this when I was younger. These goofy little, faces and expressions, American expressions, right? Hubba hubba. Sylvia Glutz. That's Sylvia Glutz, the new girl. And this is the makeout queen of Lord Byron High. And yeah, she looked great. Look at her. Hubba hubba, indeed. Sacco, all this kind of stuff. Going to prom. Like, I was being exposed to American culture in this way. And they would have the host. I don't know if you can see this here. The host wearing like a school sweater. It's pretty fun. But yeah, so it'd be kind of this humor story. Let's just soak in some of these drawings here because it's awesome. And this guy trying to ask her out to the prom. Is that right? Yeah, to the prom. And he got a date. Oh, and then the parents are telling him, no, you can't go. Blah, blah, blah. You should never do this. That punk snuck out, right? Even though tell him he can't go. He saved up for the prom. And then it starts coming out that there's a curse on the family, and hurry, we gotta stop him. And then what ends up happening is he gets a kiss. I don't know how this guy actually got lucky because he gets a kiss from her and he turns into a frog. Womp, womp, womp. But I still love this. Like, the sounds and how expressive these drawings are. I've actually looked at my other comics that are also reprinted, and Rick Estrada shows up a bunch of times. This other guy, Dave Manick, and Don Edwig, I guess, is the writer. Dave Manick has a couple of these short gags in the comic as well. Looks like Steve Skeets is writing this again. Skeets. But art by Steve Ditko and inked by Wally Wood. So it's funny. As a kid, right, I just buy it. It's funny. I love it. It's great. This was a cool story too. But it's not until that I'm older that I go back and I figure out who these people are, right? Like, Steve Ditko and Wally Wood? What the heck? what a great pairing. Like, I missed out on a lot of I missed out on a lot of his work in general, right? It wasn't until college that I got to find out about his stuff on EC and enjoy his work. But this is a pretty awesome pairing. It's not something that you would think of, but Ditko's like very loose, cartoony, expressive drawings, right? Inked by Wally Wood, who's usually very tight. And it's a great pairing. It's very funny. And I know Wally Wood has drawn some funny things as well. Not a lot. The stuff I like from him is the sci-fi stuff from Weird Science. But I never knew that I was exposed to his stuff this early on, or Steve Ditko's stuff. I don't think I ever really saw his Ditko stuff back then, even in Spider-Man. But, you know, this is a Wally Wood girl right here. Definitely. Va 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 voom. Oh, sorry. Hubba hubba, as you Americans say. This guy, he finds his dandelion, falls in love with his dandelion. He has a girlfriend who is definitely better looking than a dandelion. But he loves, oh no, sorry. This is not his girlfriend. This is his housekeeper? Oh, well, he did ask her for a date once, but I think she's like a neighbor or something like that, right? But, you know, he's the total recluse. He stays at home. He falls in love with the dandelion, gives dandelion a lot of vitamins, meets the dandelion's parents. What the heck? That's awesome. Meets the dandelion's parents, buys a pot for the dandelion and all that, by the way. Meets his parents. For some reason, I think that's normal, but that's not. And what ends up happening, I think, is the dandelion parents say, no, you cannot be with my daughter. So he runs away. No, you can't. There's some printing snafus here, I think, from this previous page. I also loved like these kind of interstitials. Now, I'm growing up in the Philippines. I'm quite disconnected from what's going on, whatever the whole juvenile delinquency issue is. I'm young, right? I'm probably like at 7, 8. So I was like, oh yeah, Superman's just walking around telling these kids not to crash parties. Yes. Roger that, Superman. So anyway, he comes back home. Dandelion is sad, right? And he does whatever he's doing. He buys her a new gold pot, comes back, and finds out that the girl has cooked the dandelion because she's a vegetarian and he's trying to cheer him up. He ends up killing her. That's it, and gets taken off to the funny farm. And we have a nice drawing here by Sergio Aragones with one of the hosts wrapping up the story. Great story, great figures. I love like this foreshortening. Just the figures here are sick. It just looks great. The expressions on the faces. It's just such a nice pairing, I feel. Wally Wood and Steve Ditko. And then we get another few, and I like how they it's kind of like Mad Magazine, I guess, in that way. You have like few of these interstitial funny one panel comics, right? That are gags, but they're like, I guess, I don't know what's going on. I hired a new tomato today. Pass the secretary, please. It's just weird. All right, yeah. Talk about gallows humor. Ba-dum-bum. David Manek is here again. Dodd Edwing is writing, and hey, it's against the law to ride a horse with no clothes on. Clothes on. I mean, this gag can probably show up in anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be in Plop. But I love this. So like there's a couple that they've been harassing, telling these terrible stories, right? Is the way. So this is the last story to cap off the issue. And it turns out this couple making out, it's just a bunch of aliens that wanted to have their own quiet time. And so they get taken around for a ride, and the ship turns into this awesome, the car turns into this awesome spaceship. Vroom. and this is Sergio Aragones again, I think. And, they wrap it up with, "Gad, if we fall now, it'll make one hell of a plop." Or, I don't know if they speak in a British accent. But anyway, this is my issue of Plop. They have the letters page. I think I used to read these too, and I'd be like, what is $20? I don't really know how much that is back then. But that's a lot of money. But that was it. That was Plop number 16. My book is pretty wrecked. See, off the covers. Not all my comics I like this, guys. I am actually very precious about them. I've gotten better. Now that I'm older, and not too precious that I won't read them. But I love that these were well read, and that I enjoyed them. I still remember them as a kid. When I was a kid, yeah. In any case, that is Plop number 16. This is my first episode of Comix Rant Minis. Hope you enjoyed it. I like taking a trip back memory lane. Back down memory lane, and just enjoy good art. This is the main thing. Like, yeah, I don't like episodes that recap stories of the comics, but I do like looking at comic books. So I just want to share good art with you guys. Fun art that I grew up with. And that's it for this episode. Let's see if I can make another one. I'll see you guys next time.